2022, Russia has been at war with Ukraine, and it is not over yet.
Today, we are joined live with the Ambassador of Ukraine to the United States, Oksana Markarova. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Madam Ambassador.
Good morning, Pittsburgh.
Thank you. So Ukraine is a NATO partner country, which means that it cooperates closely with NATO, but it is not covered by the security guaranteed in the alliance's founding treaty. What are the sentiments of most Ukrainians regarding NATO membership?
Thank you. That's a very important question. Ukrainians always wanted to come back to Europe, come back to the transatlantic family, which we unfortunately were deprived of during the Soviet occupation. So since 1991, Ukrainians worked really hard in order to move back to Europe. And NATO is a very important security alliance, which Ukrainians wanted to be part of. We tried in 2008, if you remember, to get the membership action plan. And since 2014, actually, when the war started, when Russia attacked us the first time, everyone understood in Ukraine, and the majority of Ukrainians supported Ukraine's accession into NATO. That's why we were moving as close as possible, and we got the EOP status, which is the extended partnership with NATO. Now, this year, the International Republican Institute conducted a survey in Ukraine, and the results are even higher than what we have known before, that the majority of Ukrainians supported. 82% of Ukrainians actually expressed support for Ukraine's membership in NATO, while 85% supports Ukraine's membership in the European Union. So we can say that, the overwhelming majority of Ukrainians see Ukraine in NATO. And what we see now on the battlefield, how our armed forces are more successful, even though they're outnumbered, because we already use the NATO standards, because we're transitioning to NATO type of equipment, and because the values and principles that we're building Ukraine on and building our armed forces and everything are those of the, we can say, collective West, or we can say the civilized countries, or we can say the NATO countries.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your insight. So when Russia annexed Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia last October, the United States immediately placed sanctions against Russian people and companies. So in your opinion, how effective have these sanctions been since?
Very effective. So again, there were some sanctions rolled after the initial invasion in 2014. But of course, what we've seen after February 24th, when not only the United States, but all community together, all the sanctions were coordinated with the European Union and other countries, have been rolling at an unprecedented scale. So sanctions against individuals who are responsible and involved in this aggression, sanctions against companies and banks that are fueling the war with their money and involved in the efforts, sanctions and export controls also importantly, in order to decrease Russia's ability to do this malign, aggressive acts. So sanctions have been very effective. We already see some decline in the Russian economy. We already see how they lack the high precision weapons, how they are less and less effective, but we are not yet where we can say that sanctions are sufficient. So right now, more than a year, 13 months after this re-invasion and the start of the full-fledged war, the goal is actually to continue to strengthen sanctions, to double down on everything that we can do in order to stop Russia, essentially. And also very important area on which the US is focusing, Ukraine and our allies, is to prevent the sanctions evasion by some other players. So this is also a big area of interest. But in short, in addition to weapons, more weapons, in order to get to peace faster, we need also tighter sanctions in order to stop Russia faster.
Absolutely. I do hope those sanctions continue in their effectiveness. So in December, President Zelensky visited President Biden and spoke to a joint session of Congress. On a personal level, can you please share with us your reaction and emotions?
It was a historic visit. From traveling from the airport with President to the White House, to Congress, seeing how people on the streets reacted to the cortege and waved to us, and such an overwhelming support from the American people, but also the meeting itself, both with President Biden and administration, and of course with all the leaders in Congress and speech to Congress. It was clear to us that, this partnership, the strategic friendship, I would even say, between our countries is not just something of this moment, but it's built on the common shared values and principles. And what we hear the United States saying that U.S. is with us as long as it takes, and the support that we feel was felt again on a personal level during this visit here.
Absolutely. So speaking of United States support, thus far, the U.S. has provided Ukraine with $2 billion in the military assistance, the Patriot missile system, tanks, and an additional $500 million in aid. What additional assistance from the United States can we expect or hope to see in the near future?
Well, yes, I mean, this year the assistance has been already huge, but if we count from the beginning of this full-fledged war, it has been dozens of billions of US dollars. And we are very grateful for everything that US has done to provide this bilateral assistance to us, but also for leading in security assistance and organizing what we call the Ramstein Group, which now consists of more than 54 countries that get together to coordinate how they can together help us more. I wish we could say, that we already won and there is nothing needed more. But unfortunately, we still need to win. And the very hard battles that we have in the East and South, and the need to liberate our territories and our people, because we know what happens to them under occupation, the torture, rapes, kidnapping of Ukrainian children, and forcefully taking them to Russia. So we need to sustain this support. We need to stay the course, as military people say. And we really count on the United States and all our friends and allies to invest a little bit more in us, to give us more security assistance and budget assistance, so we can actually finish it this year, as President Zelensky says. We really hope 2023 will be a victorious year, and we all can not only have a just and lasting peace in Ukraine, but for all of us it's important, so that the whole region and globally we can restore international justice.
Absolutely. We wish you the utmost support. So for our last question, for our students and alumni around the world, as well as Pittsburgh residents who watch Pitt to the Point, what are things that we can do to be of assistance to Ukraine?
Well, let me start by again saying thank you, because I know how much your students and your residents are already doing. Everything that you do matters. If you put a flag outside of your house, it's very important for us. I know how much flags, American flags, mean to American people. And to see our flag next to American flag is the ultimate sign of support, and it's very important. If you help Ukrainians who are at your university or in your town or live next to you, we're very grateful for that support, for this. We have now almost 200,000 people who came during this time using different programs of support. Of course, all of them dream about coming back, but it's very important that they feel supported and at home while they're temporarily here. If you would like to support any of the initiatives of Ukraine House here in Washington, D.C., we're helping kids who needs prosthetics, or any other initiatives, please check at the embassy website or Ukraine House website. There are a number of initiatives to support there. And of course, very important, continue writing to your congressmen, to your senators, to politicians, expressing that this is what American people support, that this support is not important only for Ukraine, but it's actually in the national security interest of Americans, regardless of the parties, regardless of what differences we all might have. It's a universal, national security interest for all countries that believe in dignity and sovereignty and territorial integrity and freedom, because this is what it is about. We are fighting for our freedom and for not being occupied by a foreign aggressive nuclear state.
I know on behalf of Pitt to the Point, and I hope the rest of the University of Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh community, we thank you so much for all of your support and all the work you have done. It was amazing to hear all of your insight. We wish Ukraine safety and you support through all of this. Thank you, Madam Ambassador.
Thank you, Margot and Mia. Thank you for having me.